Sherry Brown. I work at the intermediate school. And I'm going to take one and let you pass the rest of these out. And I'm going to be talking about social stories. Now, I know I spoke with one of our grandparents earlier, and she said she had a lot of experience with social stories. Anybody here have experience with social stories? Some people, okay, some of us do. Social stories, basically we know our students on the autism spectrum struggle with reading social cues. Knowing what body language, those kinds of things, and we've spent a little bit of time talking about that. And social stories are just a real basic way. We'll go from Shanna's high-tech stuff over here to my very low-tech way of kind of getting a message across. Social stories, any of us can write. Anyone written a social story? Okay. And these are Macy's. She shared her social stories with me. So some of you have had experience with writing social stories. This paper, and I'm very visual, you can tell we got pink paper here. This paper kind of goes through the process of writing a social story. It's an overview. Talks about the strength of social stories, that they help students just kind of identify different situations. We use them in situations where we want to teach new behaviors or replacement behaviors. For example, today, if we were going to write a social story for me, we might write a social story about how it's okay to join in and look like other people. Notice I didn't wear my teen outfit today. So we might write a little social story about how that's an okay thing to do, or how people sometimes like to dress like other people. One of the important parts of a social story, and like Marianne said, I always like to think about, when we're talking about all of our students, not necessarily the differences, but what do we have in common? What kinds of things make sense to me? What do I already know that I can use? And I was thinking about one of the things that I struggle with. Our students struggle with the social cues and things. When we're writing the story, we want to write stories that are descriptive, show perspective, and then they have directive. And one of the things, for me, a difficult area is cooking. If I had to, somebody called me up and said, okay, I need you to bring a dish tomorrow, I would be so stressed. That's not my skill. I don't do very well from that perspective. Now, I can cook well, and I can come up with a nice dish, and I can bring it, and it can taste good, but I'm going to need some help. And if I just pick up any old book, and it's just descriptive, and it just tells me, do these things, I could spend hours looking through this book and not find a thing that's going to make a lot of sense to me. So if we just sit down and we write, if it's just directive, but if we just sit down and write directions for students, and we say, you do this, and you do this, and you do this, that's going to be difficult for them. So to make it a little bit more interesting, it needs to be something that has some perspective. And you can tell this is my well-worn cookbook. And it doesn't have any pictures in it, but the perspective here is, this is my family cookbook. So when I see the names in here, I've eaten these dishes. I've tried these, so I have a perspective. When I see, oh yeah, I know this is Aunt Margie's casserole cookies. And so I know what those are, so I have a perspective when I see this. Now when I pick this one up, not only do I have a perspective if I want to look up a certain kind of cookie, but I get a picture of it. So when we're writing social stories, it helps us if we can use pictures. We write from the student's perspective or our children's perspective. And then we give some descriptors, but kind of short on the descriptors, one descriptor, and then we add the other pieces. And we'll go through this one real quick. But this is just real basic. School is fun. And we talked about student loves school because they get to be with their friends and a variety of reasons. They like school, it's fun. And they like it, let's see. I love school because when I'm a good boy, I get to play with toys, so the different things they get to do at school. If I want to do those fun things, I need to be good, and so we're talking about behavior. And then we give the directions. I listen to my teachers, follow directions, those types of things. So talk about that, and then the positives. When I do these things, what happens? I get rewarded. My teachers listen to me. My teachers are proud of me, that type of thing. They can be very, very simple like this. They can have pictures of the students. We can do video. We can do this with video too. Like Macy's got the flip camera, which is a real simple form of video to use, where we could We can record our students doing a behavior that we want to see them continue to do and reinforce that and show them and remind them of the times that, when they did that behavior correctly and what that looked like, so we can kind of help them see that if we wanted to be a little more high-tech, like Shannon was telling us. But this is a real simple way just to convey a message and help kids understand maybe social situations and different things that are going to be new to them or things they haven't tried or maybe they've tried and been unsuccessful with. We can help them understand the steps they need to take to be successful in those situations. The other thing that we're going to talk about just briefly is picture schedules, which are real similar, just a laid out schedule, and I didn't bring a sample of a picture schedule with me, but it may have the things that we're going to do today, and then just have a picture by each of the things so that transition becomes easier, because transition for our students on the autism spectrum can be a real challenge, and of course you all know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But when we can go to a picture and look at that, what's next? And that kind of helps us get in that mindset that, okay, now I'm moving from this point to this point, or from this activity to this activity. The things that I need to do, maybe my morning routine that I need to go through before, or my bedtime routine. Does anybody have any questions?
One thought I wanted to add to that, Sherry, is Lisa had used the example early in hers about going to a birthday party. Or, anytime your child is doing something that's unfamiliar, or they may be doing for the first time, that's a perfect time to use a social story, because you can kind of set up the scenario. We're going to go to Bobby's house. It is Bobby's birthday. When we get there, we'll say happy birthday to Bobby. He will open, just to set up the scenario of what to for them to expect out of any situation. Going to the grocery store, going to visit Grandma and Grandpa. If it's a new experience, a social story can be a great way to prepare them for what to expect.
And once they've mastered that skill, keep the social story book around, because it's fun to read back through the skills that they've mastered. Because we don't just want, and when we're introducing a new skill, we also want to celebrate the skills that they've already mastered. So you don't want to introduce 5 new skills at one time. I think Lisa talked about this. We want to introduce them one at a time, and maybe go back to then and review the skills that they've mastered, and they'll have fun flipping through those books and reading those and thinking about when that seemed like a really big thing, but now they can do that, now they're going to take on something new. So you can kind of approach a new skill that way, or a new challenge.